High winds, of course, can spread radioactive contamination. But the Harrisburg weatherman said light wind patterns today and tomorrow, even with possible shower activity late tomorrow, should keep anything in the air isolated within the general area. So far, what's been happening in Harrisburg is sudden puffs of radioactive gas venting into the atmosphere and quickly dispersing. It does not contaminate land or water. But just what is the meaning of all those confusing dose levels we've been hearing about? How do those brief puffs of high radiation compare with what the human body is normally exposed to? Charles Crawford went to Mount Sinai Hospital in New York to find out.
Every day, we receive tiny doses of radiation from the sun, cosmic space, the food and water we consume, and the air we breathe. The amount of exposure is measured in millirems, and from the everyday sources, the average American absorbs about 100 millirems a year. A normal chest X-ray can add about 10 millirems. The total is still far below the 5,000 millirems a year considered allowable by the government. 200 yards from the site of the Pennsylvania leak, radiation was measured at 30 millirems, equivalent to 3 chest X-rays. A relatively small dose, but large enough to raise concern over the long range.
There's no doubt in my mind that at the doses that seem to be, that the people seem to be exposed to downwind several miles from the plant, that eventually, 20 or 30 years from now, there can be expected to be an increased incidence of cancer in this population.
Dr. Melvey agrees that residents within 10 miles of the site should remain indoors. Of greatest concern, says Melvey, are pregnant women who within 5 miles of the site have been advised to leave the area.
The fetus is much more sensitive than the adult. A rather small dose can create either a birth defect or a spontaneous abortion. And prudence, again, would suggest that the governor's action is valid.
Scientists still can't agree on what, if any, amount of radiation is safe. But they do agree that the longer the exposure to even low levels of radiation, the greater the risk. Charles Crawford, CBS News, New York.
Every emergency creates its conflicting accounts, but in the matter of the 3 Mile Island accident, the waves of confusion reached tidal proportions. Betsy Aaron reports.
It happened at 4 a.m. on Wednesday, March 28th. 3 hours later, word from the Pennsylvania State Police, a general emergency has been declared. There is no radiation leak. Metropolitan Edison explained the delay in reporting the accident by saying no escaping radioactivity was detected at first.
The situation is more complex than the company first led us to believe.
From the Metropolitan Edison Company, Vice President Jack Herbine.
The safety systems were called on to function. They functioned as designed. They did provide water to the core. While we had some fuel failure, it doesn't appear that we had any kind of a catastrophic accident.
What did happen? From Herbine, the accident began with failure of a valve in a pump in the cooling system, complicated by human error. From the Bingham-Willamette Company, makers of the pump, that could not have been the cause. We have no valve in our pump. By Thursday morning,
the plant's in a stable condition and we believe operating normally.
Are you satisfied in your own mind that there is no danger being posed to the people in the surrounding area now by this?
Yes, I am, but I wouldn't want to minimize our concern for the general health and safety of the public.
By 9 a.m. this morning, John Comey of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, quote, there has been an uncontrolled release of radiation. Pennsylvania Governor Richard Thornburg, the release was unexpected. Frank Ingram, NRC spokesman in Washington, the release was not unexpected. Ingram later, there are conflicting reports. My initial information might have been wrong. Betsy Aaron, CBS News, New York.
A movement already has begun on Capitol Hill for a congressional investigation of the Harrisburg incident. Phil Jones reports.
Pennsylvania Congressman Peter Kostmeyer today called for an immediate and independent investigation of this accident.
NRC really is not able to conduct a thorough investigation because they themselves are part of the problem. I think we need an immediate outside investigation to find out exactly what's going on, to bring some kind of order out of this chaotic situation, and to assure people in Pennsylvania that they're going to be protected now, and number two, that this sort of thing is not going to happen again.
I think it's a make-or-break situation for nuclear energy. I think it's on trial as it's never been before, and they're going to have to start from square one if they're going to prove its health and safety to the American people.
I think this has got to have a kind of a chilling effect on the plans for expansion. And depending on how it comes out, when this thing is finally settled and what we learn from it, we've got to decide how much further into this nuclear swamp we want to go and so on.
Also, Senator Henry Jackson, the Senate's energy expert, was warning today that the Pennsylvania accident and other current nuclear plant shutdowns will be felt nationwide.
It's going to be an extremely strained situation. And when your peak loads hit this summer, you could have not just a brownout, but a blackout. Secondly, at best, the people who are already overburdened with terribly high utility rates are going to have rates that are even higher.
It was also announced that a special Senate hearing will be held tomorrow to hear testimony from government health, environment, and nuclear regulatory officials on the public health implications of the Harrisburg accident. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
CBS Reports will present a special broadcast on the nuclear accident, Danger at 3 Mile Island, tonight at 10, 9 Central Time.